Hello, and welcome to our video series, Elite Membership Tour, how to get the most out of your Scotch Cheap Flights membership. In this video, I'll cover our help center, our guides, and I'll also give you tips on how to get that deal that you've always been looking for. To start, my name is Nicole, and I'm on the member success team here at Scotch Cheap Flights. You can email us at support@scotchcheapflights.com. Feel free to reach out with any questions about the memberships, to get travel advice, or even maybe to share a testimonial. Once again, that email is support@scotchcheapflights.com. All right, let's get going. So here I am logged in on the site. I'm on my profile page, but let's say I need some help and I want to visit the help center. I'll just click here and click on FAQ, and that will take me to the help center. So I can navigate the help center on my own just by looking at the different categories, or of course I can search the help center with different keywords. So let's say, for example, I want help changing my password. So I'm going to type in change password and see what my results are. So the first result does say, how do I change my email address? But the second one is, how do I reset my password? That's really what I was looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and click here and look at the guide. As you can see, this article is listed under profile and alerts, and then it's really a how-to of resetting my password. And here we have some troubleshooting advice in case I am having trouble with that. Now that I've learned to reset my password, I just want to browse the general guides, maybe learn a little bit more about the membership or learn how to book flights. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up and click back to the main site. And here I am on the main page. I'm going to go ahead and click guides, and I will be taken to the guides page. So here we have all sorts of different kinds of guides, and you can filter them by the guide type. So we have guides on visas, layovers, holiday travel, some destination highlights, guides on airlines and airports, travel tips, and flight booking. So say I'm new to this world of flight booking and traveling, and I want to learn a little bit more about the tools. I'm going to go ahead and click on the flight booking filter for the guides. So now I have all these different guides on flight bookings that are oftentimes written by Scott himself or flight experts. Google Flights versus Skyscanner, what are online travel agencies, how to book an open jaw flight to save time and money, all sorts of great articles on flight booking. And here's one of my favorite guides. It's what we call the Greek Islands trick. Let's take a look. So the Greek Islands trick is amazing because it allows you to cross the ocean as cheaply as possible. So the way this travel hack works is actually pretty simple. You book one ticket for the cheapest international fare across the ocean or to the continent you want to travel to. And then you book a second ticket on a budget local carrier, whether it be a train, a bus, or a flight. And that gets you to where you want to be. So I actually have a real life example of using this travel hack in my past. So I actually wanted to travel to Brussels to Belgium, but I wasn't able to find any cheap flights from the US to Belgium. Instead, I was able to find a cheap flight to Paris in France. Paris to Brussels is actually a really, really short flight, of course, and also a train ride. And the trains were quite cheap. So I was able to book a train from Paris to Brussels round trip. So I was able to explore both Paris and Brussels and be back in time for my flight that departed from Paris back to the US. All right, for this next tip, let's say you're looking to add departure airports to your list, but you're not sure which ones to add. We have multiple guides on this. So here I am on the guides page, and I'm going to go ahead and click airlines and airports. So on this page, most of the articles are relating to airlines, but on the second page, I can find a few guides on airports. So at the bottom of this page, I have two articles that are very interesting to me. One that's on the best and worst US airports for cheap domestic flights, and the other on the best and worst US airports for cheap international flights. This will really help me decide which departure airports to add to my list. This next tip is for those that want to spread the cheap flight love with your friends and family members. I'm talking about our referral program. Accessing the referral program is easy. All you have to do is click on invite. This will take you to a page where you can invite anyone you'd like. You can do so using email, Messenger, or Facebook. You also have the option to copy and paste this link wherever you'd like, and whoever signs up using that link will count towards your referrals. At the moment, each friend who signs up gives you one entry for a chance to win 5 years of premium or 1 year of elite. New winners will be announced each month, and there's no limit on how many entries you can earn. All right, so let's wrap this video up with the cheap flight expert himself, Scott. He's here to give you some tips, especially for those of you who are looking for cheap flights to a specific destination.
Hey everybody, Scott here. Look, I'm often asked, what is the secret to finding cheap flights? And if I had to boil it down to just one thing, it would be this. Take the normal way that you search for flights and flip it on its head. The normal way most of us search for flights is a 3-step process I call the destination first method. Step 1, you decide where you want to go. Step 2, you decide when you want to go there. And only on step 3 do you look, well, what do the flights cost? And by setting price as the last priority, it's not terribly surprising that we end up with some pretty expensive flights. And so instead, what I recommend is take that same 3-step process, and if cheap flights are something you're really hoping to get, flip it on its head and make cheap flights the top priority. Step 1, where are there cheap flights available out of my home airport? Step 2, of those places that are cheap, which ones appeal to me the most? And step 3, what dates work for my schedule? By setting price as the top priority rather than the last priority, that's how you get cheap flights, and that's how you take 3 or 4 vacations for the same price that you used to pay for one. So let's say you want to travel in the middle of summer or Christmas, New Year's. If you're like most people, you don't start to think about booking those flights until a month or two beforehand. But as we know, if you wait to book your flights until a month before the middle of summer, chances are there's not going to be any cheap flights left. Instead, the best way to get cheap flights during a peak season is to use this simple rule of thumb. Always book opposite season. In the same way that swimsuits are going to be at their cheapest in the winter and down jackets are going to be at their cheapest in the summer, so too with airfare. So when you're at your 4th of July barbecue, that's when you should be thinking about booking those Christmas or New Year's flights. And when you're getting dolled up for that New Year's ball, that's when you should be thinking about booking your next summer flight. Don't put it off until the last minute when all the cheap seats are gone. Think about booking opposite season when you're much more likely to find those cheap peak season flights.
Well, that's it for this video in our series Elite Membership Tour. I have just one more tip before I go, and that's for Facebook users to join our Facebook group Travel Community. It's a great place to ask questions, talk travel, share stories, and you're more than welcome to join. Happy travels!